So welcome to Behind the Emotion. Here we are empowering your emotional evolution. And today we're talking about how to love yourself fully without being full of yourself. I'm Jade from Jade Sterling Coaching. I am a positivity coach, a nurse, a counselor, a yoga therapist, a wife, a mom. I bundle all of my skills and experience together into these classes. And I also provide one-on-one personalized coaching, group classes, online events, retreats, all of which support you to move into the best version of yourself that you possibly can. Now today I'm talking about loving yourself fully without being full of yourself. And I've gathered it into a little bit of a grab bag for you to wrap your head around two concepts. It's actually quite a lot of weight in both these concepts, but we're going to deal with those today. The first is how to be your own best friend. Now that's not a new concept. Self-care is quite a buzzword now. We're all aware that if we look after ourselves first and foremost, that we will benefit physically, mentally, emotionally. But what does that actually look like? And how do we apply that in our lives? And how is it going to benefit us in our day-to-day experience? What does it actually mean to be your own best friend? I'm just going to ask you to take a moment to think of your current best friend, if you have one. If you can just at least isolate one person in your life that is reliable, someone that you would choose to call for the good stuff and the bad stuff. Identify that person in your mind and think about how you developed that friendship. Now, my guess is that at one point you started up a conversation, and then the conversations led to starting to get to know each other, and then the building up of a mutual trust and respect and a connection that then you're able to keep in touch and nurture over time. It's usually how friendships evolve. How many of us have actually gone through this process with ourselves? We all start up conversations with ourselves. We are in constant conversations with ourselves every day. But how much time do we actually spend getting to know ourselves through those conversations and then keeping in touch with how we're growing and developing, building a rapport and mutual respect and connection with ourselves? Now, in my experience, we usually spend most of our time trying not to get to know ourselves. In fact, when we start to pay attention to the conversations, we actually want to run away in the other direction. Or we tend to want to create some other version of ourselves that feels better on the inside, or we think that looks better on the outside, what the ideal person should be. We're often very critical, judgmental, and disapproving of ourselves on the inside. But consider, if you spoke to your friend the way that you speak to yourself inside your head, do you think that you would still be friends? Just have a moment to observe the internal dialogue and how you're talking to yourself inside your mind. Now, imagine that your friend, who we identified before, your close, reliable friend, was to call you and say, "Oh man, I messed up. I've messed up. I feel terrible," and downloaded a situation that had happened for them. And you are going to assume that you would say, "Oh man," right back. And you would probably help them to unpack whatever they're going through. And then you'd probably tell them that it was going to be okay. Get them into a space where you can at least reassure them so that then they can move forward to being a better version of whatever it is that they're trying to work towards. And so that situations like that don't actually happen again. What would you say to yourself in the same situation? You call yourself up, "Oh man, I really messed up." Quite often it sounds more like, "Oh yeah, that was really bad. Oh, that was so inappropriate. How did you do that? That was really stupid. That was totally out of line. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that." But have a think about what you would say to your friend. When your friend calls up, "Oh man," you're a little bit more kind, supportive, reassuring. Would you actually say to your friend, "That was stupid. That was so inappropriate. I can't believe you did that. Oh my God." That was like totally out of line. Now, look, I had a client who did challenge me and say, if I am kind and soft with myself, then that's not going to challenge me to become a better version of me. But I would actually like to challenge that view, because If you think about your friend who calls you and says, oh my God, I messed up. And you go, yeah, yep, you messed up big time. Firstly, I don't know how many times your friend is going to call you back when they're having a bad day. Because when you're in a space where you feel vulnerable and you feel that you have actually done something that's not in line with your best self, then the best place to actually support you is a space where you're nurtured, is a space where it's kind and compassionate and can help you feel safe to then move forward into the next step. So if your friend calls and you tell them they're stupid, is that actually going to help them feel good about moving forward into a better version of themselves? Or is it just going to stop them from calling you next time? So have a think about how that affects you. If you're talking to yourself in the same way, is that really going to motivate you forward to be a better version of yourself, or is it just going to make you feel worse? And you're going to stop wanting to connect and actually find out what's going on the inside. Something to think about. So learning how to be your own best friend and have your back at all times is a place to start to be aware of what's happening on the inside and talking to yourself first and foremost. You'll find that you actually start to get to know yourself pretty well. And from that place, you might just start to get curious about your thoughts and your feelings and your behaviors. And curiosity is the start of a beautiful friendship. I'm going to talk more about that. But now we're going to talk about the second component of this grab bag. To be able to love yourself fully is to love all of you. Like literally all of you, the good bits and the bad bits. So firstly, I would like you to exhale, and I give you full permission to love yourself right now. All of you. As you exist right now in this moment without changing a thing. That includes all the things that you think are good about yourself and the things that you think are bad habits, addictions, unattractive emotional qualities, undesirable characteristics, whatever you think that they are. Whatever it is that you consider to be bad, the bad side of yourself, or the not so lovable side of yourself, you now have permission to just relax and just accept that it's part of you and who you are. And I would like to assure you that you are still a worthwhile human being who is worthy of inhaling and exhaling on this planet every day. Doesn't change a thing. So now that you have permission, now that we've had an exhale, it's a challenge, and it really is working to strengthen your mental muscles to be able to connect with yourself and fully love yourself, even when you're engaged in behavior that you don't particularly feel proud of, or you're in a state that you wouldn't exactly shout from the rooftops, "This is who I am." When you're able to settle into that space, you will see amazing things happen. Your attitude towards your bad bits will soften, and you won't see them as a dark mark of proof that you are not worthy and that you're not perfect and that you're not lovable at all. In fact, you'll be able to see all of you, the good bits and the bad bits, and that all of you can be accepted and loved, even when you're not being the best version of yourself. And in the end, that will start to make you curious. There's that word again. And what did I say before? Curiosity is the start of a beautiful friendship. And what is behind every beautiful friendship? Love. So love is inevitable. Taking a look at the good bits and the bad bits will only eventuate in you loving yourself even more and growing to love yourself more. And as a result, you will be in love with yourself first and foremost. Have you actually ever been in love before? Or if you can think about the first time that you had extraordinary feelings for another human being and you just wanted to be with them all the time. And it wasn't just because of how you felt about them, it was also how it made you feel about yourself by being in their presence, or by being around them, and who you felt that you were when you were with them. I remember feeling like anything was possible, and actually my capacity to give and love was actually bigger. And you can see the good stuff and the bad stuff flowing in and out of people, and you realize that none of it matters. Most of the time it's because you felt so much supported by the love that you had with this connection, with this other human being. And someone else knew that your worth and who you were and loved every bit about you, and so everything felt like it was manageable. So you can actually feel like that all the time just by realizing that you can be that kind of person to yourself. You can have that kind of connection with yourself. Now, this does not mean that you care about you and only you, and then you stop caring as much for others. Absolutely not. It's the complete opposite. The more that you love yourself, the more love you have to give. Just as I've explained, this is true from my own experience and the experience that I have communicated with others, that when you're in love with another person, have you not had more energy or more capacity to give and love? So being in love with yourself not only enhances your own life experience, but it powers you up to enhance the lives of others. And that's just a win-win situation for all. So that's your 2 steps, your 2 components of your loving yourself fully without being full of yourself grab bag. It's got quite a lot of weight in it. Number 1, being your own best friend by listening closely to the conversations that you're having with yourself each day. Number 2, loving all of you, the good bits and the bad bits and the stuff that you don't even want to think about. Keep it simple, keep it soft, and always remember to exhale. That's it for today. I'll see you next time.